Hello, everyone. This is Calvin Russell, CEO and founder of 850 Club Credit Consultation. Hope everyone's doing well today. Today, we're going to talk about the pros and cons of asking and receiving seller closing cost assistance. All right. So let's go straight into it. First off, for those who don't know what seller closing cost assistance is, you're essentially buying property. And the person who's selling you the property, you're asking them to assist or give you essentially money towards your closing costs. And we call it a credit because that's how it shows up on the actual transaction statement, or some may call it the HUD or the closing statement, whatever. Either way, the seller is giving you a closing credit, okay? And of course, why would you ask for this? Well, you're going to ask for this so to bring down the amount that you have to bring to closing, okay? So let me just give you some basic examples. Let's say, for example, you're buying a property, you're going under contract, but let's say, for example, the offer that you sent the seller before they accepted it, right? You're essentially saying, hey, I'm asking for $5,000 in closing cost assistance. If the seller says yes, then that means you're going to get $5,000 towards your final amount due, which includes, 1 year of insurance, 1 year of taxes, your closing cost in general, and of course your down payment. Okay. Let's say, for example, you talk with your lender. This is a conversation that you're going to have with your lender well before even getting this far. You want to have an idea of how much you need to bring to the closing table. Okay. In general, for example, if your pre-approvals, let's say for $200,000 and you talk to your lender, that means that, your closing costs should be anywhere between $8,000 to $12,000, okay? Because that's how it is in Illinois, depending on taxes and a couple of other factors as well too. That said, let's just pick an even number, okay? Let's say, for example, your lender says, hey, your pre-approval is $200,000. Based on this, we estimate your closing cost in total to come to, let's say, $10,000, okay? If that ends up being the case, then that means that, okay, now that doesn't necessarily mean that, well, I'll make things easy. If you have to bring $10,000 to the table, for closing costs, that includes, just so you know, like I mentioned, all of your closing costs, title fees, attorney fees, 1 year of taxes, 1 year of insurance, and your down payment. Okay, so let's say you need $10,000. Now, when you put in an offer with the property and you say, hey, I want to go ahead and ask for, a $5,000 closing cost credit to you, from you, seller, the seller accepts. Now, guess what? You now have to bring how much to the closing table? You're right, $5,000, because the estimated amount was 10. And you asked the seller to give you 5, the seller agreed, and now, of course, you just have to have that reduced. Now, let's go into the pros and cons now that we understand how that process goes. The pros of asking for closing costs. Well, it's real simple. If you ask for it, and it's going to just reduce the amount of liquid cash you have to bring to the closing table. Now, some people like to ask for a discount on the price or a price reduction in general. That's up to you, right? But I would recommend you ask for a closing cost credit. When you ask for a credit, that's liquid cash you save right away, okay? Versus if you ask for a $5,000 price reduction, on average, that's probably going to save you somewhere between $24 to $30 a month. Okay, in the monthly payment, because again, your monthly payments are divided by 360, and of course you have the interest and all that jazz, but you're going to be somewhere between $22 to $30 saved, $24 to $30 saved per month. So do you want to save that per month, or do you want to save $5,000 cash right now? Everybody's different. Obviously, it's $30 per month times 360 months, but that's assuming you still have the same house. That's assuming you don't refinance. There's a little side things, but again, I recommend the credit for the second reason. You're going to have expenses. You're going to have moving expenses. You're going to have furniture. You're going to have things that's going to pop up. So you want to try to save as much as possible with your liquid cash. Okay. So the pro is that it's going to reduce the amount of liquid cash you're going to have to bring. All right. Now let's go into a con. Now a con could be if the seller says yes, but then you do, now the next step, of course, is depositing the earnest money. And then after the earnest money, you're then going to go into scheduling your inspection. Once you have your inspection, then you're going to make a list of things that, you may want to request the seller to repair. The seller may decline them quickly or quicker, or their response may be quicker. Why? Because they just gave you closing cost assistance. Now, there's no guarantee that they're going to decline that, but a lot of times what I seem to notice with sellers, because I work with sellers as well, sellers may say, well, you know what? If that's the case, if you're asking, I don't want you to necessarily think that you're going to want me to, well, think that I'm going to fix all of these repairs and give you a closing costs, assistance early in the game. Okay. And then you can decide how you want to play hardball. That's between you and your real estate agent. Okay. But don't be surprised. Be prepared. Okay. If any of you have been watching my channel, I've been telling you guys this for years. Don't be surprised. Be prepared. And all that means is be prepared for either way. If the seller says yes, to closing cost assistance, great. But be prepared that they may not say yes to fixing repairs. They may not say yes to giving you an additional credit because of the inspection, the repairs that you requested, and then you have to do the appraisal. So sometimes the bank will force the seller. Well, I won't say force, but the bank will say, hey, these are some repairs we need you to make in order for the buyer to close on this, to get this loan essentially. And now they're kind of painted into a corner where it's like, well, I can either cancel this deal and start over, or I can go ahead and then make these repairs, even though I already gave them a credit. So sometimes you may make the deal a little bit more difficult, but at the end of the day, again, do what's best for you. Okay, the seller will figure out what they have to do. But the reason why most sellers, don't like to necessarily give it, obviously, it saves money on their bottom line, but it's very common. Then another thing, let's go back into another con. Depending on how much closing cost credit you ask for, sometimes it makes a seller think you don't have the money. I get it. Some sellers may think that, believe it or not. Asking for closing cost assistance does not insinuate that you don't have the money. Closing cost assistance simply means that that's what it is. You're asking for assistance. It's just that simple. Asking for assistance doesn't necessarily, it's not a bad thing. It's just trying to reduce what you want to do. And most sellers, keyword, most sellers are used to that. But some, they're like, well, they're asking for a $10,000 credit. Why do they need a $10,000 credit? Do they have the savings? Do they have the money? So don't be surprised. Again, be prepared that your offer may not get accepted, okay? Especially if it's been on the market for a very short period of time, okay? And because if it's been on the market for a very short period of time, the chances are you may have some competition. And let's say, for example, you put in an offer, you're asking for $5,000 in closing cost assistance, and but they get another offer where they're asking for $2,000 in closing cost assistance or none at all. You already know which one the seller is going to choose. So if you want to ask for closing cost assistance, talk to your agent about some strategies like increasing the price, right? Going over the list price and things of that sort to get that closing cost assistance to better your chances. But if it's been on the market for a little bit, then you have a better chance at that. All right. So hope this video was helpful. If you like this video, like it. You want to share it. And as always, be sure to subscribe as we have nothing but great content on the way. Thank you all so much. Have a great day.